NXT starts off with Julia. She comes out and she was about to address, her match against Roxanne Perez, but then Roxanne Perez interrupts. She comes out. She basically ends up talking her trash, talk about, how Julia's now on her level and that basically the same result is going to happen that happened on the first episode on the CW network when she beat Julia for the NXT championship. And then she ends up alluding to not being able to make it to New Year's Evil. Julia was demanding to have the match there, but then Cora Jade ends up coming out. She ends up making the same comment that Roxanne ends up saying that she's not going to be able to make it to New Year's Evil. She ends up bringing out a bat. They end up attacking her. No, well, before that, actually, she ends up mentioning Stephanie Valkyr, mentioning how Stephanie Valkyr is not going to come out and help and save her because she already took out Stephanie. They end up showing it on the Titantron. Then they attack Julia. This led to Kalani Jordan coming out to make the save. This leads to the main event with a tag match between the four of them. Decent opening. Very interested to see how they're going to build up towards New Year's Evil as well, because I'm excited for the match. The build, I would say, I'm not that excited for it because Cora Jade and Roxanne is going to have to carry the weight of that. And I like Roxanne Perez, but Roxanne Perez isn't someone that I look at as someone who can carry a feud. It's only a few people that can really carry a feud. It's only a few people. I don't think Roxanne is one of those people. So I'm interested to see how this plays out. But the match itself should be amazing. And I can't wait to see how that match plays out. Now we end up getting Tony D'Angelo. We end up having a segment with him and Ethan Page. Ethan Page is bummed out. He's lost because he lost the NXT championship. Not the NXT championship. He lost the Iron Survivor. He doesn't know how to get back into the NXT title picture. Tony D'Angelo basically says he feels sorry for him and he gives him an opportunity for the North American Championship. Ethan at first declines it, but then Tony D'Angelo ends up making it an offer to everyone in the locker room or whatever. Ethan Page ends up seeing it and ends up wanting the opportunity. This leads into them having a match. Then they end up having the match later on in the show where Tony D'Angelo ends up defeating Ethan Page, which led to a segment where Ethan Page basically talks about how he lost, he's confused, and he doesn't know what's next for him. So they're playing the angle of Ethan Page being lost and doesn't know what to do without being champion. So this is very interesting. He ended up packing his suitcase and everything. So this is alluding to him possibly going to the main roster, which I actually think would be a good idea. They do got the whole roster trade or roster shakeup in a few weeks. It will be great for him to be in it because they did say it's between all three brands. So it'll be very, very interesting to see if he's actually a part of it because he's main roster ready. He's perfect for the mid card. He's main roster ready. He is perfect. The only concern I have is that NXT low key kind of needs Ethan Page to a degree because in terms of the main event, it's not there. It's just not there. Like outside of Trick and Oba, Ethan Page is next. Like there's no one else in that main event saying. So it's like NXT kind of needs Ethan Page, but Ethan Page doesn't need NXT. So it'll be very interesting to see how this story plays out though. I'm very interested to see what's next for Ethan Page. After this, we end up getting OTM and No Quarter Catch Crew. I'm not gonna really speak about the segment. Basically, not No Quarter Catch Crew. OTM has been inserting himself in No Quarter Catch Crew for the past few weeks. They've been trying to build up this feud. I don't care. I don't really care, mainly because of the OTM outside of Jada Parker. The feud itself has potential. I will say that. The feud has potential because No Quarter Catch Crew is a great faction. It's really the OTM dudes, the tag team. That's where it really is iffy because they're still very green and so unbelievable that it's very tough to watch them, where Jada Parker just carries that entire faction. So hopefully this feud that they're trying to push actually works out, but I don't have high hopes, but I'm going to just let it play out. After this, we end up getting Javon Evans versus Wesley. This match was really good. This was a really fun match. Javon Evans ends up picking up the victory. I don't know what you do with Wesley after this because his heel run has been good, but it has been a bit lackluster since they stopped the Rascals feud because due to the injury of, I forgot which one got injured. I don't know if it was Zach or Trey that got injured, but one of them got injured. That derailed that storyline, and he's clearly not going after the NXT title picture, which is very ridiculous for someone that is as popular and as over as Wesley. It's ridiculous that he still hasn't had an NXT title match, given, some of the other people that are getting NXT title matches that we're going to speak on later in the show. But yeah, I don't know what's next for him. At this point, he kind of just needs to go to the main roster. I'm just going to be honest with you. There's really nothing for him to do. Now, it looks like this feud may not be over because after the match, Wesley was still like staring Javon Evans down, so they may continue this feud. But after this feud is over, I don't know what you do with Wesley. You might as well just call him up to the main roster and just have him be in the mid card and build him up from there, because there's really nothing for him to do. Because if he's not going to go after the NXT title, there's really nothing for Wesley to do, if I'm being honest. Like, he's kind of done it all. So yeah, at this point, he might as well just go to the main roster, but we'll just have to see what's next for Wesley. Afterwards, we get Fraxium. We end up having a segment where basically they end up talking about what happened at Deadline. And then they end up Axiom feels sorry for Nathan because Femi ended up winning the Iron Survivor, and they talked about how unfair it was, and they basically felt sorry for each other. So then they both ended up saying that they was going to make it up to each other, because Nathan wanted to make it up to Axiom, to Axiom for being injured in the tag match, and then Axiom wanted to make it up to Nathan because Femi ended up being in the Iron Survivor match. So they both ended up leaving, talking about how they was going to make it up to each other, but they didn't communicate how they was going to do that. So they come back, and then it turns out that Axiom requested a match for next week against Femi, and then Nathan requested a tag team championship match for next week as well. So they're basically going to do double duty again with the roles reversed, and they're going to face Gallus next week, which is going to be very interesting. Now, Nathan was very hurt in this episode. I don't know if he's still going to be hurt in this next week's episode. So if he's going to be fully healed and they're just going to have Axiom be hurt, then they're going to retain those tag titles. But I can see them losing. I don't want them to lose to Gallus because I'm just not a big fan of Gallus, but we'll see how that plays out. But this tag team is great. For a tag team so great, they have the worst communication ever. But it leads to a very interesting television. But I'm interested to see how this plays out. Afterwards, we end up getting Femi. Actually, before Femi, we end up getting Hank and Tank versus Tyson and Tariq. I'm not gonna speak too much on this, but basically the story they're telling is Tariq actually. Tariq, basically they're doing a slow heel turn for Tyson and Tariq. I'm assuming they're basically doing the Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano storyline. They're slowly turning one of them heel while the other one's being face, and they're trying to contemplate whether or not they're basically doing that storyline. I'm interested in the story. I think it could work. I actually think it's better for them to be heels, in my opinion, because I think they're based off their build and their physique and the way you have to like build them up. It's best for them to be heels, in my opinion. I don't see a reason why them to be baby faces. And I think they basically could be a better version of what OTM's supposed to be, because OTM just comes out so fake and unnatural, and they just come out so fake, where Tyson and Tariq, even as baby faces, they're not the most entertaining. To be fair, they haven't been on TV much, but they come off way more believable and way more entertaining. So I think they could just be a better version of what OTM's supposed to be. So we'll see how this storyline plays out. Now we end up getting the main thing on the show, Femi. He ends up, about to mention Trick Williams, New Year's Evil, but Trick Williams comes out. They end up going back and forth. Before they actually go back and forth, Eddie Thorpe comes out. Eddie Thorpe comes out, assumes that Femi was the one that attacked him, but Femi basically ignores it and ends up going back to Trick Williams. Trick Williams responds to Oba, talked about how they're the two biggest stars in NXT and how everyone's been waiting for them to collide, and now that's finally happening. And mentions how, them two being the two biggest stars. Oba responds, ends up saying that the only reason why Trick Williams is the top guy in NXT is because he allowed it, and now he's the one coming for his throne, and he's finna easily take that title away from Trick Williams. Then they end up leaving the ring because Eddie Thorpe was in the ring just listening the entire time. He was like basically the third wheel. He was just listening, just being ignored by Trick Williams and Femi. But then you get Eddie Thorpe talk to Trick Williams, and he ends up saying that he's upset at Trick Williams because he thought Trick Williams was a leader, and that he should have stood up for him, stood up to Oba for attacking him, and that he was wrong about Trick, and that he called him like a manufactured sports entertainer. Trick Williams responds, ends up mentioning the doubters and how he proves the doubters wrong, and he's going to prove him wrong. Then he ends up giving him the NXT title shot, which Eddie Thorpe wanted, and he ends up attacking him, and that's the end of the segment there. I'm going to be honest here. At first, I was going to go on a huge rant about Eddie Thorpe getting this opportunity, but after the show, I went on Twitter. They end up showing a little segment. You know how they do like Raw talk, SmackDown talk, and all that. They end up showing a segment where Eddie Thorpe reveals to Ava that he attacked himself to get this NXT title opportunity, which was genius. I'm glad that they changed something about Eddie Thorpe's character. So clearly he's going to be a heel, which is great. Because thank God they're not doing the same boring babyface gimmick. Thank God. So they're giving him something different, because I was going to be so mad that he was going to get an NXT title picture. But this was a good way to give it to him. This was a good way. Now, he's going to obviously lose, but this is a good change in the right direction for Eddie Thorpe, for him to be something different. Hopefully it plays out, because the babyface run was just not working, because the crowd was dead for this segment. They was dead. So hopefully this heel run plays out, and hopefully we get better television than what we've been getting with Eddie Thorpe in terms of his character. After this, we end up getting Gigi Dolan, Tatum Paxley versus JC Jane and Jasmine Nix. The Fatal Influence ends up picking up the victory. Don't need to explain. But after the match, Fatal Influence ends up attacking Gigi and Tatum. But then you end up getting Shotzi comes out. She makes a return from injury and ends up making a save. I'm not going to speak too much on this. I'm just going to say that I'm not the most interested in this. It seems like they're going to do this feud with the three of them, which I'm not the most interested in, only because I'm just not a big Shotzi fan due to her main roster run. But I do have hope, because there has been people who came to NXT on the main roster that have impressed me, and I am huge fans of them. Pete Dunne and Beechin are two of them. I was not the biggest fans of them, but they came to NXT, proved that they are better than what they've been advertised, and they show. And now I'm a huge fan of it. I advocate for Pete Dunne and Beechin like crazy now since their NXT run. So hopefully Shotzi can do the same. So we'll see how that plays out. Now we end up getting the main event, Roxanne Perez, Cora Jade versus Julia Kalani Jordan. Don't need to really speak about this match. It was a solid match, but Roxanne and Cora ends up picking up the victory with Cora Jade. Well, Cora Jade pinned Kalani Jordan. I don't know why I was going to say she pinned Julia, because that did not happen. After the match, you end up getting Stephanie Vaquera. She comes out, attacks Cora Jade, and that's how we end the show. Decent show overall, slowly building up towards New Year's Evil. I'm very interested to see how that show plays out. Interested in the build, but you guys let me know your opinions down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. But yeah, that's it.